He handed her the keys to a brand new Tesla and gave me a rusted-out '98 Honda with no air conditioning. Then I opened the glove box, and my hand started shaking. That moment was when everything changed. But let me back up, because the truth, that wasn't the first betrayal, not by a long shot. That was just the one I finally couldn't swallow. I used to think family meant unconditional love, that no matter what, your parents would see you, love you, and treat you fairly. But when you grow up as the lesser daughter, you start to feel invisible in your own home. You learn to stay quiet at the dinner table. You learn how to shrink. And in my house, my sister Amanda was the golden child. Straight teeth, straight A's, straight into Stanford. Daddy's pride, mommy's obsession. And me? I was the mistake, the backup plan, the one they never bragged about. I worked 2 jobs to put myself through state college. Nobody clapped at graduation. When Amanda graduated, there were balloons, banners, champagne, a professional photographer. It was in the local paper. My mom said, well, she earned it. I guess I didn't. So when my dad called me over and said he had something special for us, something to celebrate Amanda's new promotion, I already knew what was coming. What I didn't expect was the show they put on. They had the garage doors closed when I pulled into the driveway. Amanda stood there, beaming in her designer heels, and Dad was recording on his iPhone like it was a Hallmark commercial. Then the doors opened. There it was, a Tesla Model Y, cherry red, bow on top. Amanda screamed. Mom cried, and I just stood there, waiting, smiling politely, like a clown at her own funeral. Then Dad jingled another set of keys and tossed them to me without even looking. This one's for you, kiddo, he said. I turned. Behind me was an old, rusted-out Honda, bumper half hanging, like a forgotten Craigslist ad. No bow, no surprise, no effort. Amanda burst out laughing. Oh my God, is that thing even street legal? I laughed too. But not because it was funny, because I had 2 choices, laugh or cry, and I refused to give them the satisfaction. I thanked him, I opened the door, and I got in. But when I opened the glove box, I froze. Inside was a folded piece of paper, old, yellowed, like it had been sitting there for years. I pulled it out. It was a letter, addressed to me. In handwriting I hadn't seen since I was 10 years old. It was from my grandfather. And what it said changed everything I thought I knew about my family. To my granddaughter, the one with the fire in her eyes, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and they've lied to you. My heart dropped. I looked up. My family was still hugging, laughing, like nothing had happened, like they hadn't just handed me trash and called it a gift. But I knew something now, something they never wanted me to see. The letter said there was a storage unit in his name, and that inside it was something meant for me. Not Amanda, not Dad, me. He wrote, I left it in the glove box of this car because I knew they'd never give it to you if they had a choice. I slammed the glove box shut. They didn't even notice. I started the car. The engine sputtered and wheezed like it was coughing up its last breath. And then I smiled. Because what they didn't know was that Karma had just begun to load her gun. Let me tell you what growing up like this does to you. It doesn't just make you feel invisible, it makes you dangerous. Because once you realize they'll never love you the way you deserve, you stop waiting, you start planning, you stop chasing approval, and you start chasing power. They had no idea what they'd just triggered, no clue that I was about to become the one thing they could never control, never diminish, and never silence again. And Amanda, she would regret every single time she rolled her eyes at me, because this embarrassment of a daughter, she was about to show up to Amanda's wedding wearing something better than a dress, a black robe, and a pen, the one that would decide whether that marriage was legal or not. But before that, I had to uncover the rest of the lie, because that letter from Grandpa, it was only the beginning. There were secrets, inheritance, hidden plans, money. All of it swept under the rug while I was handed scraps and expected to smile. No more. Not after the glove box. Not after the truth. You'd think that after handing your daughter a death trap while celebrating the other like a celebrity, they'd hit pause. That was just their warm-up act. The next week, I drove the Honda, yes, the same one with no AC, one working window, and the smell of mouldy regret, to Amanda's engagement party. I wasn't invited, but I showed up with a gift and a smile. She opened the door, blinked once, and then smirked. "Oh, you actually came." I handed her a gift-wrapped cookbook. She blinked again. "This is cute," she said. "Thanks, I guess." Inside, I watched them toast champagne and brag about Amanda's wedding venue, some waterfront mansion with a string quartet and a champagne wall. The theme was Luxury Royal Garden. I was standing near the hors d'oeuvres table when I overheard Amanda talking to one of her bridesmaids. "Oh, my sister's here, don't worry, she won't be at the wedding. I already told Dad, I want it classy." The bridesmaid giggled. "Isn't she like a receptionist or something?" Amanda sipped her drink. "Exactly." I left quietly that night. No scene, no tears, just a note burned in my brain. She doesn't even see me as family anymore. That's when it started, the Cold War. First came the accidental exclusion from the group chat about the bridal shower. Then, a week later, my name disappeared from the guest list altogether. I found out when one of Amanda's college friends posted a photo of the digital invite on Instagram. No +1 for me. No RSVP. No mention at all. I asked my mum about it and got this gem. "Well, sweetie, Amanda just wants people there who reflect her lifestyle now. It's not personal." Not personal? I was blood. And yet, somehow, I was the one who didn't fit the aesthetic. I thought maybe Dad would speak up. But he just shrugged. "She's the bride. Let her have her day." Let her have her day. That phrase echoed in my ears like poison. Because for them, Amanda's day wasn't just a wedding, it was a coronation. And I was the embarrassment they wanted to keep off the royal balcony. The night before her bridal shower, I broke down, not because I wanted to be at the wedding, but because I wanted to matter. I sat in the junk car, parked behind my one-bedroom apartment, letter from Grandpa in my lap. I reread it a dozen times. "You are stronger than they'll ever understand. Go to the storage unit. Take what's yours." So I did. I drove 6 hours the next morning to a small town where Grandpa used to live. Unit number 43. Rusted metal door. Combination lock. Inside, dust, boxes, and one safe. I cracked it open with the combination from the letter. Inside were 3 things: a certified trust document with my name on it, a key, a note. The note read, "Amanda got the Tesla. You get the legacy. Make it count." I didn't understand at first, but the trust document outlined something insane. Grandpa had left me full ownership of a small law office he once operated, debt-free, including the commercial property it sat on. That key? To the office. I stared at it for a full minute before it hit me. I wasn't just left out of the wedding. They'd cut me off from everything, while I held the key to becoming something they never dreamed I could be. Not just Amanda's little sister, not the forgotten one, but something powerful. I used the next year to flip the script. I enrolled in law school using Grandpa's inheritance, something my dad never even mentioned he had. Turns out Amanda and my parents had quietly sold Grandpa's house, pocketed the money, and never said a word about the trust. They assumed I'd never see the documents in the glove box, that I'd take the junk car and disappear. But they miscalculated something crucial. You can't humiliate someone who's already hit rock bottom, but you can underestimate what they'll do with that pain. I moved out of state, stopped answering calls, and started grinding in silence. By the time Amanda's wedding rolled around, I wasn't just surviving, I was ascending. I passed the bar exam 3 months before her wedding date. But I didn't tell a soul. Let them keep thinking I was a nobody. Let them underestimate me. It would make the moment that much sweeter, because while Amanda was booking florists and fitting into a Vera Wang gown, I was quietly receiving a government-issued black robe and a courtroom badge. The week before the wedding, I got a call from the county clerk's office. They needed a temporary officiant to step in for a luxury estate wedding that had lost theirs due to a scheduling mix-up. They sent over the bride and groom's names, Amanda and her fiancé. Fate doesn't send you invitations. Sometimes it sends you assignments. I didn't even blink. I said yes, and I smiled the entire way there. She said I wasn't good enough to attend her wedding, so I became the person who had to sign off for it to even happen. I walked into the venue early, not as a guest, not as the rejected sister, but as the judge. It was surreal. White roses, chandeliers, string quartet rehearsing under the marble archway. This was Amanda's dream, the luxury royal garden wedding she designed down to the monogrammed champagne flutes. And I was the final piece, the authority. I checked in with the wedding coordinator and handed over my credentials. She didn't blink, just thanked me and gave me the schedule. Amanda had no idea. My name had been kept off everything. The ceremony was in 45 minutes. I stayed out of sight, tucked into a side room with the legal documents. I ran my fingers over the marriage license like it was a sword. My signature would make or break this whole event. And then, the moment came. The double doors opened to gasps. Amanda walked in, veil flowing, smiling like a queen in Versailles. Everyone stood, and then, behind the floral arch, I stepped into position. I wasn't wearing a bridesmaid dress. I was wearing a judge's robe, black, clean, authority, gasps, real ones this time. Amanda froze mid-step. Her smile faltered. Her eyes locked onto me, and I saw it. The flash of panic, the desperate attempt to stay composed. I could almost hear her brain spinning. Is that? Number no way. She turned to her fiancé and whispered something frantic. I stood calmly. The officiant, the woman she thought was too embarrassing to be at her wedding, was now the only person who could legally marry her. I greeted the crowd, cleared my throat, and smiled. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this ceremony, we must confirm some legal formalities. Amanda blinked. Her fiancé looked confused. I pulled out the license. Per state law, both parties must be fully transparent with each other before entering a legal union. If there's any existing financial dispute or undisclosed assets, it must be resolved prior to the signing. Amanda's face drained of color. Because she knew exactly what I meant. She'd stolen my inheritance, helped cover up Grandpa's trust, sold property that wasn't hers to sell. And now? Her wedding wasn't just a celebration, it was evidence. I leaned in slightly, my voice calm but clear. I do have reason to pause the ceremony, unless we resolve a legal matter involving the bride's family estate. There were murmurs in the crowd. Her fiancé turned to her. What is she talking about? Amanda glared at me. Can we talk? Privately? No, I said, smiling. This is a court-certified proceeding. Full transparency is required. Silence. Her fiancé took a step back. You lied to me? He asked. Amanda snapped. She's doing this on purpose. She's trying to ruin my day. I raised a hand. I'm not here as your sister. I'm here as the officiant. Legally, we cannot proceed until the issue is addressed. Her fiancé turned pale. His parents, who I had never met, stood up. Is this true, Amanda? Her future mother-in-law asked. Amanda's voice cracked. It's complicated. I looked at her, steady. You made it complicated when you took what wasn't yours. The ceremony was halted. The string quartet stopped playing. The wedding coordinator looked like she was about to cry. And me? I stood there, dignified, calm. The exact opposite of the emotional wreck they thought I would be. I didn't throw a tantrum. I didn't cause a scene. I wielded the law, I used the truth, and I let karma do what karma does best, arrive dressed in black with receipts. Amanda ran off crying. The guests whispered like it was a courtroom drama, and honestly, it was. Her fiancé approached me later, once things had unraveled. He asked to see the trust paperwork. He asked if I was serious. I showed him everything. And he said 7 words I'll never forget. Thank you for saving me from her. Turns out, he wasn't just marrying Amanda. He was unknowingly stepping into a relationship built on lies. They broke off the engagement 2 days later. The venue lost the deposit. My parents, silent, ashamed, they didn't even look me in the eye. And I didn't say a single cruel word. I didn't need to. The facts, the robe, and the timing did all the speaking for me. When I left the venue that day, I got into a car that wasn't the Honda. I had sold Grandpa's law office for triple its value. Used the money to buy my own vehicle. No bow, no dramatic delivery. Just success, earned in silence. After the wedding disaster, there was silence. No apology, no explanation. Not even a passive-aggressive text from Amanda. And honestly, I didn't need one. She thought she could erase me from the family story, rewrite the narrative with champagne and curated Instagram photos. But when the camera stopped and the music cut out, I was still standing, not in the background, but in control. It took a few days, but the fallout was seismic. Amanda's wedding became the topic of town gossip. The luxury royal event that ended with a legal interruption and a walkout groom. A few of her friends tried defending her online until court records revealed the truth. My grandfather's trust, the stolen assets, the inheritance quietly swept under the rug. Turns out, when you try to bury someone alive, you better pray they don't come back holding paperwork and a title. As for my parents, they went radio silent. At first, I thought it was shame. But no, Dad finally reached out. Not to say sorry, but to scold me. You humiliated your sister on the most important day of her life. I stared at the message, then typed one sentence in return. She humiliated me my entire life. I just made it legal. He never replied. 3 months later, I got a letter in the mail. A final detail that made everything click. It was a letter from Grandpa's lawyer. Apparently, Amanda had attempted to contest the trust after the wedding, claiming it was unfair that I received the law office and assets. She lost the case in less than 15 minutes. Why? Because of a handwritten note Grandpa included in the file. To Amanda, I gave you the car you wanted. To my other granddaughter, I give you the legacy I built. One will get you places. The other will make sure you never need permission to go. That was Grandpa. No drama, no favoritism, just precision. I built my career quietly after that. Used the money to open my own practice, focusing on helping people who had been steamrolled by family, employers, and power structures. Because when you know what it feels like to be erased, you become relentless about making sure others are seen. Clients started coming in. Word got around. The girl who was too unsuccessful for her sister's wedding, she now had a courtroom, her own firm, and a community that saw her worth. Amanda tried to rebrand, tried to frame it all as a misunderstanding. But people don't forget weddings where the bride gets legally challenged by her own sister in front of 150 guests and a drone camera. Her fiancé moved on. Got engaged again 2 years later. Amanda wasn't invited. And me? I got invited to speak at a conference. Women Who Lead in Law. My topic? Turning rejection into power. The audience laughed when I opened with, I wasn't allowed to attend my sister's wedding, so I officiated it. Briefly. That's when it hit me. I didn't just survive them. I outgrew them. She said I wasn't good enough. She said I was an embarrassment. She said I didn't reflect the image she wanted to portray. But the truth is, I didn't sabotage her wedding. I did something worse. I became unforgettable. When you've been cast out by the very people who are supposed to protect you, you have two choices: shrink yourself to stay digestible, or grow so loud with your purpose, they can't ignore you. I chose the second one, and every time I walk into my office, every time I sign a document or walk into a courtroom wearing my robe, I remember that moment I opened a glove box and found a key to everything. They gave her the car. They gave me the fire. She wanted to be royalty for a day. I became a judge for life. Have you ever been cut off by your own family? Tell me below. Like and subscribe if you believe success is the best revenge. Share this with someone who needs to hear. You are enough. And remember, she wanted me gone. Instead, I became the one thing she couldn't ignore.